So I'll go ahead and get started. Why don't we just, since we're all here, why don't we just go around and do quick introductions? I'm Christine Smith. I am with the Marion Institute Southcoast Food Policy Council. Anita, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Anita Regasia Smith, and I'm in coming to these meetings as a representative of Damien's Food Pantry, where I'm the board president.
Mary?
So I'm Mary Jagir and I work at Southeast Center for Independent Living. So I work with a lot of consumers who have needs for food, additional food services. So that's who I am.
Fantastic. And Jennifer, can you introduce yourself? If you're driving or anything, that's totally okay. Or if you can't get off, that's fine. What we'll do is I'm going to share the PowerPoint and we'll go through what this year has been and what we're going to do in the coming year. At any time, just stop and ask questions. Jennifer, you want to come off mute and introduce yourself?
I thought I was off mute. Am I
Oh,
off mute now?
you
Okay.
are now.
Hello. I was a resident of Mattapoisett. I've recently moved to Marion, and I'm on the same road as Damien's Food Pantry. And my church has just started their Sunday school with food collections as part of their community service. So it's all tying into me wanting to know what's happening on the South Coast and maybe assisting.
What a fantastic connection. So, Jennifer and Anita, if you want to put in the chat your emails, you can just do that at any point so you guys can connect. Sound good? Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. We are recording. And I'm going to share our PowerPoint. And again, at any time, I'm not going to be able to see you guys necessarily. So at any time, just come off and mute and just say, excuse me, can you stop? I have a question. I have no problem with that. I would prefer you do that than just at the end be like, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try that screen share again. Wow, everything. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys shared your emails. Okay. Let's try that PowerPoint again.
That was a great idea. Just get it done.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, having a little problem here. Your screen sharing is paused. Weird. Okay, let me try it a different way. Right, give me a second. I apologize. I'm gonna bring up the PowerPoint again. I closed it down and I'm bringing it up again, and maybe this time it'll work. Okay, now I'm going to share. Okay, that worked. Good. Okay, we'll get started. Yay, you can see it. This is good news. All right. Well, the Marion Institute has several programs. We have Farfoot Farm, which is a farm that we grow food and it goes to food pantries. We have Fields to Families, which is a gleaning program where we work with different farms in the region. And when they have excess crops, they call us up. We work with volunteers that go and harvest the food that go to emergency food pantries. We have Grow Education, that is a farm to school program. We work with 24 different schools and 6 school districts. And then we have the South Coast Food Policy Council. So I'll be talking about that today. So we did introductions. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about the role of the Food Policy Council. We'll talk about our particular mission. We'll talk about briefly about the food system assessment, just to give you context. And then we'll talk about what our priorities are, what is the structure, a little bit of our history. And then we'll work through what's happened this past year in both in policies and initiatives. What are we going to do in this coming year? And then how do you engage in our work? And again, at any time, just ask questions. So the food system in general encompasses the inner ring here. So we are looking at food production, food processing and aggregation, distribution of food, the accessibility of food, how do we consume it, our knowledge around preparing food, and um, also food recovery and food waste. So all those are the key pieces of the food system itself. And then there are things that impact the food system, just like public health, our environment, society, and the economy. And where we work is we work in that outer ring, just so everybody else in those inner rings can continue to do their work. Our work is those outer rings to look at the impacts of what is happening on the food system and then start looking at what can we do from the policy point of view. Maybe it's in public health, maybe the policies in economy and so on, to kind of figure out how do we keep this wheel on the inside healthy and moving. So our specific mission is to convene, connect, and advocate for all of us in our region through a variety of different ways. But what we want to seek is to strengthen our regional food system, improve community health, and eliminate food insecurity. Now, in 2021, when we created the Food Policy Council, and I'll talk more about the history, we did do a food system assessment for Norfolk, Bristol, and Plymouth County. And the data is currently a little old now, so we're going to be releasing a new food system assessment at the end of this year with more information. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the idea is that we took the data from that food system assessment, and then as a community advisory board, we created priorities from 2022. So we've been working on all these different priorities, some of which are policy driven, some are initiatives that we're doing. Sometimes it's actually other groups that are taking the lead with different pieces. So we're definitely doing most of this. I would say 90% of this we've either currently working on from policy or initiatives. And I'm going to share the PowerPoint when we're done. But the idea is to understand what happened. We took those priorities, and then we created 4 working groups: education and communication, food access, capacity building, and food policy. And our structure is such that we have 2 staff and 1 consultant. We have an executive team comprised of some of the community advisory board members. We do have community advisory board members, about 30 to 35 every year, that are comprised of food system stakeholders from Plymouth, Bristol, and mainly counties. And we also work with 3 to 5 food equity advisors. Food equity advisors are people with lived experience of hunger, and they work in our working groups, and we stipend them for their time. So that's our current structure. Here's a brief history of where we've come from and where we're going. So we did the research, which I just talked about, and we hired staff, and we were doing pandemic emergency food during 2019 to 2020. But then we published that food system assessment, created our community advisory board. We started working on those priorities. How are we going to do this? And we developed those working groups. We did a food summit, candidate forum, hunger awareness month, and we are still working on food equity advisors. By 2023, we were executing all of our plans. We were doing 7 meetings a month with the different pieces that we're engaged in. We hired that consultant who really started looking at how do we do long-term adaptation and structural change. And then in 2024, and again, now we have like a baseline of accomplishments. We do a legislative breakfast with the community to really engage legislators with the work that we're doing. We do the Eat Local Southcoast Challenge as a way to educate the public on the local food system and how to engage in the local food system. We've got technology now that we're doing action alerts. So it's like a 1-click, put your address in and your letter goes off to your legislator. We did candidate forums at the state level every 2 years. And we also do an annual food summit. So this past in 2024, it was like from food security to food sovereignty. Last year was on aquaculture. We started our work in the CARET. The CARET is our community and agricultural resilience audit tool, which really help us in a regional level. And I'll talk about more of that later. And then we started working with the Boston Food Bank through their USDA commodities program and the local food pantries and tried to figure out a way to bring more food into the region. In 2024, there was just enormous amount of people in the Boston Food Bank who were going on different types of leave, and their warehouses were short-staffed. So actually, the food distribution was slowing down. So we were just trying to bring more food into the region at that time. I'm going to talk about more of that later. But if you have any questions, just stop me now on anything that I shared here. I just went really quickly through that. Okay. So just in this past year, our education and communication working group, we do the Eat Local Southcoast Challenge, which is basically 4 weeks of emails, and it's really giving people videos, podcasts, and books to read during each of those 4 areas of the food system. So 1 week would be food production, the next would be food aggregation and distribution and marketing, the next would be food access and consumption, and the last would be food recovery and food waste. So the idea is every year we want to expand the number of people in our Eat Local South Coast Challenge and see the lifestyle changes. We measure the impact of through that process of doing surveys. Last year, we worked on aquaculture for our food summit, and now we have a newly formed aquaculture policy coalition, which is going to be working on how do we keep the aquaculture industry alive in our region, which is being impacted by what is called combined sewer overflows, which just to say that right now we have superstorms because of climate change. And what's happening when New England is old, so our infrastructures are old. So our wastewater system works that you have wastewater that comes across the top and then anything heavy like fecal matter drops. But when you have superstorms, all that fecal matter comes to the top and then rolls off into Buzzards Bay. And what's been happening is the aquaculture industry has been inordinately, and the fishing industry, impacted by closures because of all this matter that's now in the water. So we're working on policy measures in this aquaculture coalition. We are currently working on a Farm Coast documentary, which is really looking at the southeastern Massachusetts and looking at how do we educate the public further, including legislators, and we're following farmers and aquaculture throughout the year and documenting all their work. This particular group, and every working group, we have initiatives, and then we have policies. So the policies in this working group are the Farm to School grants and the Food Literacy Bill. The Farm to School grants give schools that apply money to actually procure local foods and to build out raised garden beds and to have educators in their school to teach the kids food literacy. The Food Literacy Bill, on the other hand, it would be K-12 standards put into place permanently for Massachusetts. And why that's important is think back to, we're old enough now, we've all been through home ec. Kids today don't have any of that. So you don't have anybody really understanding as the kids grow up where their food comes from. What is the science behind the soil, healthy soil, and so on. So those are some of the things we're working on there. The Food Access Working Group, our whole reason for being in that group is to increase the food access in our area to the food pantries in particular, and that's why we created the Fields to Families, which is the gleaning program, and Frogfoot Farm, which is growing food going to food pantries in the area. And we also started an initiative where we need more prepared, like I'm thinking about you guys and what you do. We need more prepared food for people, just generally speaking, whether you're in unsheltered area, you're unsheltered or not. We don't have a lot of fresh prepared food. So what we did is we created an initiative where Frogfoot Farm grows the food. We work with the Minkle Brothers Catering to create the prepared food, and then it's distributed to Southcoast Health that goes into the unsheltered communities to provide wellness assessments. So the prepared fresh food is going right into Fall River, into those unsheltered areas. We also do an emergency food resource meetings in this group, which during the pandemic we had done weekly, then we went to monthly, and then it petered off. And last year, our community asked us to bring those emergency food resource meetings together, which is actually timely because last year when ice started coming into our communities, we had Mira come in and do an ICE training for all the service providers. We had the SNAP coalition leader from Mass Law Reform come in and talk about all the changes from the OBBA bill at the congressional level and how that impacted SNAP. We did this massive training, and now we're going to have Helena De Silva come in and talk about, well, as food pantries and people in the community, how do we prepare the families for when ICE comes in and their families are ripped apart? There's actually a process to help families ahead of time. And we know from Portland and from Minnesota and from Chicago, being prepared ahead of time for ICE is actually the key. So we want to get all the service providers trained on what to do when and or if this happens. So that's the next meeting. Those are now monthly meetings, and I will share all the links to all this to join in a moment. Jennifer, you came off mute.
Yes, I was going to say, Helena Silva came to my church asking for volunteers. I teach night school um, English for immigrants, and we've had a whole ton of that training, and it is very worthwhile. I just wanted to say it's not a huge time investment, but it is a quality Zoom. That's
I'm
all.
so glad, Jennifer. That's great. Because, yeah, churches are places where
Mm,
ICE may go to. And although we have a bill from Governor Healy put in to bar ICE from entering public places like churches and food pantries, I agree with you, Jennifer. It's a great thing for everybody to know. So I'm so glad
mm,
she did that with you guys. That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll send the information out on registering for those things, but we also have a South Coast Food Alert system. That's just a listserv. We started during the pandemic, and it allows groups, food pantries, service providers to actually network with each other. Like somebody might say, I have a pallet of chicken that we can't use. Does anybody want it? Things like that. So there's a lot of different things you can use the South Coast Food Alert for. And if you want to join, email sfpc@marioninstitute.org and I will add you to the listserv. In this particular working group, we work on
Yeah.
two very specific bills. Go ahead, Anita.
Just going back to your point about the gleaning and working with
Yes.
Minkle Brothers. So
Yes.
where do they get the rest of the ingredients?
I'm not sure exactly how that process works, to
Okay.
be honest. We're just providing the local food to them and they're figuring out. They might be putting in, oh, I do know there's money. So there's grant money that's going to this. Then it might be where they're getting additional money to buy
Okay.
whatever else is needed.
Yeah, I can find out. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. That was a pilot program, by the way. We are just testing it out to see, and we're trying to look to see if there's more money out there to continue to do this or ramp it up, or to see if anybody else would be interested in partnering in that. So the two bills we're working on in this working group, one's the Healthy Incentives Program. For those of you who don't know, let me check the chat. Just give me a moment.
Oh, it's just me. Yeah, okay.
It's okay. Perfect. Ah, nice. Thank you. Perfect.
Sure.
Yeah. The Healthy
Okay.
Incentives Program is for people who are SNAP eligible. Even if you have a penny on your SNAP EBT card, you are eligible for the Healthy Incentives Program, which gives you access to local fresh food, up to $40, $60, or $80, depending on your SNAP household size. And it is not a permanent part of Massachusetts. And yet, when the government shut down in November, this was the only thing we had as our food safety net was at that time was the HIP program. So again, we're trying to make this a permanent program and we want it fully funded this year at 29.7 million. That's our hope. So that's our fight. We do have a HIP lobby day on March 26th, and I'll share that link too later. We also work on another bill called the Basic Needs Assistance for Massachusetts Immigrant Residents. That particular bill is actually resurrecting an old bill from early in the 1990s, They're used before this, the Welfare Reform Act, the state and about 18 other states in the nation actually funded SNAP at the state level for Massachusetts immigrant residents that are here legally. And so we are asking for that to be resurrected, given that the draconian cuts that are happening with SNAP, all the things that are happening with immigrant residents. So we're bringing this bill back, but in particular, we're asking for funding for the 9,500 immigrant residents that are here illegally that are going to lose their SNAP because the congressional bill is now eliminating groups of people from access to that. So that's what we're working on, that particular bill. We are, like I said, have a lobby day at the State House every year. This is a statewide effort. We work with the Massachusetts Food System Collaborative on that. And our food equity advisors always provide testimony throughout the year. Last year, all three of them provided testimony to three different hearings that we had on HIP. And they're going to be doing video testimony this year during the HIP Lobby Day. I'm going to be recording them and bringing their testimony to the State House this year. So those are
Terrific.
yeah, I know, right? And you can do that too. So if you're planning to go to HIP Lobby Day, this is a great way just to get a few seconds of somebody's testimony to bring it with you. I think this is a great way to use technology, and people are pretty comfortable with using their phones today. So it's another way to do that. Let me go to the next working group. In our policy working group, our focus was capturing stories for testimony. These are just stories in general, but also testimonials that we can use in advocacy, because what makes good advocacy in a hearing or any letter of asking for support is when you combine data with the storytelling. So we were working with our food equity advisors, our community advisory board, and gathering more testimony. We'll continue to do that throughout the year, for you to know that the letters that are sent on a particular bill stay with the bill, and they move from committee to committee, and it stays in the folder when year after year if the bill's reintroduced. So it's really important to continually have stories that are relevant and incoming to go with the current testimony. We're also doing lunch and learn issue briefings. I started last summer just to give people, hey, here's the education around this bill and why we're working on it and where it's come and so on and so on. And we do action alerts. In this last year, we had 11 election alerts and 612 members contacted their legislators. We want to continue to grow that over time. This particular working group, we work on two pieces of legislation. One is the Equity in Agriculture, which is establishing a commission comprised of Black, Indigenous, and people of color to do the research on understanding what is barring people from entering agriculture and what are the proposed solutions from a policy level. And so we're supporting that bill with testimony and advocacy. And the other piece we're working on is the entire food system budget, which is pretty massive. And we successfully advocated for over $84 million in the food system budget priorities. And I do have a lunch and learn issue briefing on the food system budget for the coming year on Thursday. So I'll share the link to that. These are always done during lunchtime to allow people access to this. Any questions on this so far?
Nope.
Okay. All right. The next one is our capacity building working group. Capacity building is specifically when we created this around our priorities, was to develop the hard infrastructure, meaning like food hubs, distribution points, how many processing centers do we need? How many slaughterhouses do we need? But also the soft infrastructure. What kind of networks do we need in place to make this work? And we started working on this and realized we don't have enough information. We might have enough information for Bristol County, but we don't for the entire region. And what we're looking at is when we started talking with Dukes in Nantucket County, realized that they were going to Rhode Island to buy their food, or they were going to Vermont to buy their food, and they were not looking at the South Coast area. So we're like, why? And they're like, because you don't have enough like distributors, food hubs, and so on for us to make it convenient and accessible. And we're like, wow, okay. So we started looking around what kind of tools are out there that we can do some really good research that is going across, that can tie different counties together. And we found the CARET, the Community and Agriculture Resilience Audit Tool. And that's from Indiana University and the Food System Network, which is a national network. And together they put this initially 101 indicators, but they didn't have any of the fishing indicators or aquaculture indicators. So we actually worked with folks in our region and created all the indicators for the research. So now we are now created a community advisory board practice across the 6 counties, found the funding for that, and now we're running through all those indicators. So all that data that we'll be able to pull together, we'll be able to then tie into our food system assessment. So we'll have very granular data from the county level, and then we'll have regional data. So when we start looking at building that out, that infrastructure to create a regional food system that's healthy and vibrant, we'll have the research needed to actually start that. And then all the counties will be using the same language, the same understanding with the data. So it won't be like, who came up with this data? Yeah, you were all involved in that. So this is great. We conducted focus groups with low-income communities and also the fisheries and aquaculture industry as well. This working group was working on an act encouraging the donation of food to persons in need, which is actually giving producers like farmers, aquaculture, fisheries, up to $25,000 tax credit to donate food directly to food pantries. The good news, that was last year. We did get it. We testified and we got it through the different committees it was in. And now the governor has actually taken a piece of that bill and put it into her budget. So the governor's put into her budget $5,000 tax credit for producers to donate money to food pantries, which is a victory. It's being acknowledged as a very necessary thing that we need to do to increase the amount of fresh food in food pantries and then again helping the producers make a living. So that's great. That's a bill we're working on. And promoting equity in ag. And then the new one we're working on, the Coastal Wastewater Infrastructure Financing Commission. I talked a little about the combined sewer overflow. So in our region, if you looked along that map and you looked at the Buzzards Bay area, from Rhode Island going up to Fall River, that whole waterway is being impacted. All those towns do not have the money to rebuild their combined sewer overflows or wastewater facilities. So because at the congressional level, all that infrastructure money has gone away, this commission will actually establish a group of people to find the money. We're talking billions of dollars to redo our wastewater infrastructure for our region. Now, in other towns like Sandwich, Duxbury, they have more tax base, but in our region, we don't have that type of tax base that we can tax our local communities to then rebuild those systems. So this commission will look at establishing a commission just to find where are we going to get this money to redo this infrastructure so it won't be impacting the fishing and aquaculture, and it also won't be impacting the communities that we live in. So that's what's going on in this working group. There's a lot happening in our area. Any questions about this so far?
Oh,
Okay. All right. So in the coming year, what's changed? We just finished the Bristol County carrot. Now we're going to be scoring it. So once we have, basically each county will be able to go back into their data and give it a score, meaning, is there a lot of assets in this question, or is this question, there's no assets, we don't have anything in our region for that indicator, and so it's a problem. So what we want to do is score it where assets and gaps are in all this data for Bristol County specifically, and each cab in their will be able to score their own. Like each county will be able to make their own scoring. We will have a candidate forum in late summer, early fall. Again, these are state legislators. We just offer a venue for the public to hear what candidates say about the food system, because food is impacting us all. The cost of food, things that are happening in the food system. So we offer that up. You know about the Farm Coast documentary that I spoke about. That'll be released in the fall, along with our 2026 food system assessment. We are launching the Aquaculture Coalition shortly, and we decided to dissolve the policy working group, and we moved that into the capacity building, those bills, and the testimony, capturing the testimony will be in all the groups. So again, our food system assessment will be the carrot data plus the regular research we do for the food system assessment, and that'll be what we use to create our new priorities in 2027. So once we publish this 2026 information, our community advisory board will be able to take a look at the data and be like, these are our new priorities. So that's where we're going in the coming year. And if you take your phone, this QR code, if you click on it with your camera, will give you the registration page for all those events that I talked about. The emergency food resource meetings, the lunch and learn issue briefings, our quarterly meetings, which you are signed up for. And I'm going to give you another link as well. And I'm going to stop sharing. Did you get that? Do you want me to put it back up?
Got it.
Okay. And I'm going to share another link, which is the March 26th HIP Lobby Day. So if you want to register, or you know somebody who might be interested in going down for the March 26th HIP Lobby Day, that is the link. And again, we work in partnership with the Massachusetts Food System Collaborative, but in our southeastern area, what I do is I'll get the list of participants from Becca, and I will reach out to all the participants that signed up from the southeastern Mass to actually figure out the logistics of going there and the logistics of setting up meetings with legislators, because that's the purpose, is setting up meeting with legislators. So that is our quarterly meeting. There was a lot that I gave you. Are there any thoughts or questions, or you want me to go back to something?
No, not me.
Okay.
I
So
have the
there's a
feeling,
lot of way. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was
Sorry.
going to say, I have the feeling everyone else understands everything that just happened there. So that's good. No, I'm used to lobbying. I'd be happy to represent.
Oh, that'd
Um,
be great. Yeah.
with a little bit of training. My
Yeah.
financial advising and insurance group is often on the Hill. We're actually going to DC in May, but I think I can make this March 26th.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. And it's just, we'd like you to make your meetings with the representatives and senators. And last year I brought 8 people and we saw 15 different legislators. And since we're in the southeastern area, Senator Rodrick is the chair of the Senate Ways and Means, which holds the money. So we were asked to set up and attend the meeting with the Senate Ways and Means staffers, which is equally important because they're the ones basically putting the budget together. So we'll probably do that again. But yeah, I usually have a meeting by Zoom and just give you the talking points. We'll figure out the logistics of travel. If there's, I'm going to encourage everybody taking the train up and then just walking the 20 minutes to the State House. Or you could take a taxi to the State House from there. This is like an all-day event. We'll have a briefing at the State House. We have a room set up there, and then there'll be a briefing with the legislators. And we'll have testimonials there. And then we have all of our meetings, and the meetings will be anywhere from like 11 o'clock to like 2 o'clock. That's it'll be a long day, but it's a very fun day. And you kind of run around and do drop-ins when there's not meetings scheduled. And you're getting to meet staffers, and it's pretty fun day. So for the purposes of the South Coast Food Policy Council, you'll be getting our emails. We're going to be sending out an action alert for the budget after I do the lunch and learn issue briefing on the budget on Thursday. Right now is the time to contact your legislators about the budget. And why that's important is right now is when every senator is meeting with the Senate Ways and Means leadership. Every House representative is meeting with the House Ways and Means with their local district level budget needs. So if we can get to the legislators before they meet with the House Ways and Means and before they meet with the Senate Ways and Means, that means they're our advocate and it makes our job a little bit easier. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So for the whole course of the work, any thoughts or questions or anything you think we should be looking at and are not, or you're seeing any trends or any pain points in the community that we should be addressing?
I would say no for me. I'm just putting a toe in the pool, so to speak. So I will make the calls that I can do.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're seeing more of a need for elderly, so we're doing a lot more with councils on aging, that sort of thing. So,
Are you aware, when you're saying we need more help with the seniors, can you describe that a little bit more?
well, I think people who are on fixed incomes, their tax bills are going up. They're
Mhm.
like everybody else, cost of things or groceries and everything is going up. So we're finding more need for elderly people to find support with the food with the Damien's Pantry.
Mhm.
So we're working with a lot of the councils on aging in our service area to bring food to these councils on aging so that we can distribute it that way, because a lot of times elderly people can't get to the pantry for, mobility issues, transportation issues, not liking crowds, a lot of things like that. So,
Mhm.
we're seeing that as a need and um, uh,
Okay.
working on that. I know Liz is aware of that.
Yeah.
She's on our board, so
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the things right now, what we're seeing is that the cost of living, so the COLA sets off a chain reaction. The cost of living adjustment to Social Security with the elderly population often means their rent for their HUD housing is going to go up, also means their SNAP is going down. The hip doesn't change. That's totally the same. That's the issue. But what we're seeing now is the heating bills. So heating bills are going skyrocket, and then whoever's running their buildings are often then, hey, we're going to charge you $9 more monthly now, but now you have less money. So yeah, one of the things, Anita, if you guys can reach out and get all the information for LIHEAP and different low income heating assistance program from Massachusetts. That's super helpful for seniors to know about. And then if you guys can also do more education on HIP. A lot of seniors don't know they're SNAP eligible and they don't know about HIP. There's only so much outreach that can be done. Like everybody needs to be doing the outreach. That's one of the things. Um,
Yeah,
one of the
we
things we
provide a
encourage.
lot of that, at the pantry and um uh I mean I can check with Rachel, but I'm pretty sure these councils on aging have those sort of
They do.
support networks.
They do. They do. Um, The other thing to look at, and maybe I don't know if this is where you guys are, but we look at more like the food is medicine is kind of the underpinning for all of our work. So the understanding that there are prepared foods for people with medical issues through two different groups. One is community servings, and this comes through people's insurance, so they can get medically tailored foods essentially. If you think of Meals on Wheels, there are different types of Meals on Wheels programs for medically tailored food, but there's also actually community servings, which is looking at a different type of medically tailored. It's very specific to your medical needs. And then there's Heart for Home, and I'll share this information in the notes, which is a Canadian-based program, but they have a distribution point here in Massachusetts, so I'll share that information as well. But the food is medicine is covered by Medicare,
Yeah,
that whole
I'm familiar with
system.
that program and I actually know firsthand of some use of it and um yeah, yeah, it's a great thing. It's actually goes on for several weeks depending on the need. So it's not just a quick Band-Aid.
Yeah. Okay. And
Unfortunately, I have two consumers just recently that applied for Meals on Wheels, and when I went through like Bristol Elders, they had to either like give up a homemaking service for somebody to come in and prepare instead of the meals, and they wanted the meals as well because they don't have enough money to buy the lunch.
Okay.
So these consumers didn't necessarily, it's not that they couldn't prepare a sandwich or whatever. They just wanted free Meals on Wheels as a meal replacement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of sad. So of course they prefer to have a homemaker come in if they can't have both, but they actually need food.
Right. Right.
And I know we have a new food bank. I think Justin Thurber, our rep in this area,
Yeah.
was great, and we have a brand new one that just started. I think maybe it's this week or last week in at the Somerset Council on Aging,
Oh,
which is
good.
great.
Yes,
You
Yes.
know,
that's us.
oh, is
That's
it you?
yeah,
Oh,
that we have Rachel met with Justin, and so she's making that possible with the food from Damien's.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
So I
great.
was going to say, have your folks go to Council on Aging because they'll be, um, they should, especially in your region, they should be able to give them basically have a pseudo food pantry.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And if
All about
you
connection.
are and if you're willing to, if you can accept more food, Spoonfuls has been bringing recovered food over to Pace to be then distributed out. So if you're not invested in either rescuing leftover cuisine or Spoonfuls, those are the two food recovery groups for our region, I would look into one or both of them and see if you can get on the list to be a receiver of food to then distribute, if that's your role. Yeah.
Yeah, spoonfuls is good. We use them.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So
Okay.
any other pain points or things, trends you're seeing or questions you have?
No, not me.
No, but one thing you did say, like we don't have home ec in the schools
Yeah.
anymore. It is a shame because maybe not in the schools, but somewhere to teach people how to
Yeah.
stretch the dollar.
Yeah.
And it's too bad because you do see so much waste. I've had one lady tell me that she throws away, like, she's like, how many trash bags do you throw away a week? And I'm like, well, in my home, I have one. I use one a week. Basically, what we cook, we eat. Like, we have very little. Like, it's just because I'm conservative that way and you don't waste anything,
Yeah.
But some people, like, their children don't eat stuff, so they just throw it all away. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
you need to make French toast and use all your eggs before they go bad, or use your milk before you dump it out. Like, people don't know how to eat or prepare the old-fashioned way when you had six kids,
Yeah.
and I wish
Yeah.
there was a way of teaching people to use what they receive and stretch it. And maybe some people do, but not everybody.
I think your
That is,
trash is also a reflection of what kind of food you buy because you're not throwing away a lot of packaging. So you're shopping for the real food, which is
Right.
also another education thing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is medicine for us. I have one lady that she says she buys a box of Pop-Tarts. So that takes care of all her breakfasts in the morning. And then she eats a can of soup for lunch. And you're thinking everything is just, I mean, she's
Preservatives.
eating three
highly
meals a day,
processed,
but
highly processed. Yeah.
a Pop-Tart and a glass of milk is not really going to help you in the long run.
Yeah. I think one of the things you can just if people you're working with are SNAP recipients, help them understand where the nearest hip vendors are. And there's often like Coastal Food Shed is now delivering to different places, like different HUD housing facilities, and you just come and get your food in the building, or you can even have a neighbor come and get the food. And we're seeing that more often. And I think it might have been Damien's who said this on a call that they're seeing more neighbors come to the food pantry to pick up, or family members for other family members or friends. And we are seeing more of that. And what I would say, what we've also looked at was sharing people on how to swap. Swapping used to be a thing, and now we're like bring it back. It brings back swapping into your building or wherever you are. Um, we were working with Cardinal Maderos in Fall River because they had the farmers market inside the building. And we told people to start create a swap table. And they do that in New Bedford schools too. They have an after at the end of the day, they have a like a table set out for the recovered food. And it's not exactly swap, but it's kind of like swap. So they can take what they want after school back home. So yeah, I think we need to recover some of those things we used to do as kids. Learning how to cook is one of them. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to learn. Coastal Food Shed does work with a chef who does training. There are trainings for how to cook. There's also United Neighbors of Fall River. I think they put together crock pot cooking classes for people. So there's a lot of initiatives that can be done to help people where they're at,
Damien's does those too.
depending.
So yeah, so
Terrific.
there's a bunch of places in New Bedford who are doing like test kitchens, but they're more like a teaching kitchen, I guess is the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are, but the thing is the word has to get out and then they have to get the food. So
Yeah.
and
Okay.
also your point about less throwing away food, that's less greenhouse gases too.
Yeah.
So
That's methane. All right. Well, thank you all for spending your lunchtime with us. We'll send out the PowerPoint, the notes, and the recording out to all those who registered.
thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
It
Thank
was a
you.
really good synopsis. Those
Oh, good.
you
Thank
guys are
you.
doing a lot. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
righty.
for letting
Take
us.
care,
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Bye.
Bye.